Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, in fact, I have prepon this session, so I hope all of you are there. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Maybe I'll wait for a few more minutes. So I'm seeing number of people are joining already. So maybe I will wait for another couple of minutes. I will request all of you to switch on your camera, please.
Sir, from our side, most of we are not able to switch on the video. From my side,
Yes, I can see Vaishali Computers.
yes, sir, now we are able.
So I will request all of you to please switch on your camera. Thank you, Kavita Computers. Thank you, Abhilash. Thank you, Chetan. So others, please switch on your camera. I hope all of you are fine.
Yes, sir. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm still suffering from my throat infection, but it's much, much better. So if you face any problem in hearing, please let me know. I will again repeat. So kindly switch on your camera, all of you. SH Systems. Switch on QNX Hubli. Please switch on your camera.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Okay. So others, please switch on your camera. So can we start, or still a few more people are expected to come? So students, can we start?
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you everybody, and very good afternoon, everybody. So let me share my screen. So first of all, we will go to our assignments. So I hope all of you are working on this. Since next Sunday, I want your presentation. Again, I'm just repeating to all of you. If you need any understanding, or you need any questions you are having, or all of you are clear. So have you able to form your team? Or are you in progress of making your team? So can you please answer?
Yes, sir.
So kindly forward the name of your team and the team members to Sweta by Tuesday, okay? So that she can provide me the list of the teams and also the participants in each of the team, okay? This is a group presentation, so please work among yourselves for your team and try to give your best, right? Because based on that, you will be assessed, and this will really help you in your future also. And Sarit sir has already mentioned, based on this, he's going to mention basically which is the best center and which is the best team also for this month of August. So all the best for you. So do you have got any question, or can we proceed? Hello students, do you have got any question? Okay, if you don't have any question, then I think that all of you have understood what is drones. But what I thought in today's this thing, let me just take you through what is about drones, right? And so what do you think about drones? Why drones is so much important nowadays? Hello students. Just to let you know, that do you know what is the drone market currently in the world? What is the overall drone market? Just give me a value. Hello students. What is the current drone market? What is the size, value-wise? How many millions of dollars? Or how many crores or billions of dollars? Any idea, any guess? Yes, student. I'm not hearing anything from you. Or you're feeling very sleepy after your lunch in Sunday.
13.44 billion.
Any other guess? What is the global market for drones?
Around 7 billion.
Any other guess? Please tell your name, your center, and the whatever the value you think. Next. Any other you want to say? Yes, tell me.
7.38 billion.
Just tell me your name, center, and the value. Yes, tell me.
$47.38 billion now. Yes.
Okay, so student, it is almost currently in the world, the market is around 28 to 30 billion dollar. And do you know what is the market size in India currently in drones? What is the India import also drones, right? So India also has now started export of small drones. So tell me, what is the value overall size in Indian market?
12 to 15,000 crores, sir.
Yeah, you're almost correct. It is almost around 10,000 crores. It's around 1.2 billion dollars. So almost 10,000 crores is the Indian market for drones currently. And do you know this market is going to go up by 2030 to almost to a 30 billion dollar. Now, to make it a 30 billion dollar means almost it will go to 240,000 crore rupees. So you can understand what is the phenomenal growth we can see in this area. So are you ready for this, for going into this kind of opportunity to take up in the drone technology? Are you ready to work?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So it has got an enormous scope for all of you, because this is a growing market, and globally it is growing, and India especially, it is going to grow a lot. Of course, India started long time back the drones, I think in 1996, but of course after that the industry did not got much boost from the government, and also from the people. They had got different thought process, and they did not basically had the drone as an ecosystem developed in India. Then, of course, Rustam 1 that started in 2009. In fact, that is one of our major drone that was developed. But still, after that, not much progress has happened. And if you know, we are trying to buy Predator drone from USA. So, do you know there are 30 drones we are trying to buy? Do you know what a price of one each drone? Yes, student. Hello? I'm not able to hear anybody. So what is the overall value of the 30 drones what India is trying to import from USA? The Predator drones. Hello? If you are listening to some other, kindly stop it and please answer my question. So what is the value? Any idea? Of only 30 drones from US, India want to import the Predator drones. Hello, students. What is the value?
3 billion.
3?
3
3
billion.
million? 3 million or 3 billion?
3 billion, sir.
So 3 billion represent how much? Almost 24,000 crore, right? Yes or not?
Yes, sir.
So each drone costing almost 100 million, right?
Yes, sir.
So you can understand only 30 drones India want to import, and it is almost 24,000 crore rupees, right? Now, if you see, maybe 1 or 2 days back, Indian Navy is coming and said they don't want basically, in fact, 10 drones will be for Navy, 10 drones for Air Force, and 10 for the Army. For the Navy, it is called Predator Guardian drone, right? Now, Indian Navy is coming and asking they want to have a more advanced drone, right? They want to have Triton, that is MQ-4C, right? And each of them will cost around $120 million, almost 975 crores, right? So you can understand the value of each drone. And this drone can basically travel at the speed of 575 kilometers per hour. And basically the area it can travel is around, how much it can travel? Any idea? This drone? How many kilometers? Hello, students. Any idea how much kilometers this Triton drone can travel? I'm not hearing. Give any guess. How much it can travel? How much?
175
175 kilometers. Any other guess? Any other guess? Are you feeling sleepy? So give me a guess. Any kilometer? It is basically run by Rolls-Royce engine. Okay. So how much kilometer it can travel? It can travel up to 15,200 kilometers. How much? So it can travel 15,200 kilometers, and it is no pilot is required, right? So you can do a surveillance. It can carry ammunition, missiles. It can fire, and it can work with the Pidian 8I. That is the in fact India has purchased those kind of planes from USA, and the Predator Guardian drones, right? And it can work in as a combination. So you can understand how the drone technology is improving and what is the total value, and why I have requested you to create a thought process about this drone, right? As a basically to show your thought process. So you can see there is a enormous scope that is coming up in the drone. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you know that in India, in the month of May, in fact, our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, right, inaugurated basically the India biggest drone festival in Delhi called the Bharat Drone Mahotsav on May 27, right? And he also interacted with number of farmers and also exhibitors, and that lot of startup companies are coming up with them in this drone exhibition. And more than 1,600 delegates came to this festival, drone festival, which includes not only your armed forces, central police forces, or PSUs or private companies and startups, but a lot of people also shown a lot of interest into this, right? And there were more than 70 exhibitors to display the various kinds of drones. So as you can see, a lot of startup companies and a lot of companies are investing, and a lot of large enterprises are also entering into this drone manufacturing. So they will require huge number of IT professionals or people to work in this industry. Yes or no? Are you aware of this, about the drone festival in India?
Yes, yes.
Hello, students.
Yes.
So you can see how much importance the drone is getting, right? So based on this, you can think that one of the next biggest industry revolution that is going to come is in the drone technology. Now, for example, Turkey, which started almost 10-15 years after India, but Turkey has created a drone ecosystem. And if you have seen during the Azerbaijan or Armenia war, they supplied to Azerbaijan, the drones called, and the drones made a huge effect in that war. Right? Again, they supplied the drones to Ukraine, and initially, lot of damages Russia faced against this Barakwar drone. Okay, and now Turkey has exported this Barakwar drone to Pakistan. Right? So there has to be not only drone that need to be developed, there has to be a technology to prevent these drones also. So there is a huge potential to counter drones mechanism that is also coming up. So it is not only drones you can create to basically, initially it was created to support the people. You can, without pilotless, right? Like a helicopter or a plane can go and provide the goods, or basically from one place to another, it can basically drop the essentials. But those are the good things. Or it can do surveillance. But if it is not done for the good purposes, if it is used for military, it can create a havoc. Yes or no? Hello, students.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So you have seen, in fact, few years back in Punjab, in basically Jammu airport, Srinagar airport, there was a drone came and dropped bombs, right, into the airport. Are you aware of this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Sir.
So, in fact, after that, India is investing a lot of money on developing anti-drone technology also to prevent the value assets, right? Otherwise, now, previously what used to do, the terrorists used to come through land or through sea, like Mumbai, they have attacked, or basically in front as physically. But nowadays, what they're doing, they're using the technology, they're using drones. Now, to prevent that and our value assets, we need to create anti-drone technology also. Isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, I move on to the next slide. Can I move on to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
So, as you can see, this is basically including agriculture. Lot of things. Since in the first class, you told me that a lot of you are coming from basically having experience or knowledge in agriculture, right? So this drone can play a good amount of support to our farmers and our agricultural community, right? So there has been a great push for this also. And in fact, as per some of the state-run Niti Aayog, so two policies has been created. One is Drone Shakti and one is a Kishan drone. So as you can see, our government under the Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. Scindia, they have launched multiple policies also, right? So this will especially help our farmers and also what? Tell me. And other people also. So these are some of the drone policies that has been created. Also, under the Kishan drone policy, the incentive for the farmers and organization is also planned. And do you know that, in fact, Mr. Scindia is saying that in the coming years, India will require more than 1 lakh drone pilots. Because if you have to run these drones, you need basically people having the knowledge. So you can see enormous potential that is coming in the drones. It is not only creation of the drones, creating anti-measures for the drone technology, then manufacturing the drones, testing the drones, but also you have to fly these drones. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Hello, students.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, are you aware this kind of things are coming up in the near future?
Yes, sir, we are aware.
Very good. So a lot of institutes will be coming up. Next is what are the future drone projects? So multiple entities that are already basically are started working on this. And the government of India under the PLI scheme that is started in 2021 has said that they are going to basically provide funding up to 20% of the production. And that is they're budgeted around 120 crores to those manufacturers who start manufacturing of drones in India, right? So already some big industrialists like basically Idle Forge, then basically Adani Group, Bharat Forge, in fact, a lot of other companies, in fact, BML also, got some government companies also have started working. In fact, HL is basically working on the drone technology also that will accompany with the fighters, right? That is the swarm drone technology. They have started working on that. And a lot of basically the startup companies are also working, right? So already the government has received multiple such invitations from the private participants, and they have selected around 11 and 12 whom they are going to give this funding also under the PLI scheme so that they can start the production. And already, if you see, already the drone ecosystem is getting started in India. So this is basically about the drones. Now, I just wanted to basically understand from you. So if you can come on the video and let me know any questions you have got on drones. So you have seen that
Excuse me, sir.
Recently has used a drone that has basically flown from the Middle East, came and basically in Afghanistan killed a terrorist who was basically 9/11, one of the wanted terrorists, right? So far off place, it was managed from maybe in USA. So such a far off place, the whole drone was managed and it came and basically, so you can understand how important nowadays in the urban, basically in the current warfare also, how the drone has been used. Similarly, in case of drones, like Swiggy is also working on the drones or some other supplier, in fact, like Amazon or companies for delivering of their parcels to the people, right? So not only for defense purpose, for civil purpose also, drones has been used. Now, I just wanted to tell you, can you tell me how many types of drones are there? Hello, students. How many types of drones are there?
Camera drones, surveillance drones, and racing drones used for racing and delivery drones.
Any other person? Category, I say category of drones. Any other one to? So generally there are 5 categories of drones. One is called the nano drones. Next is micro drones, small drones, medium drones, and large drones. Nano drones is up to 250 grams. Micro drones is up to, that is greater than 250 grams, but less than 2 kg. Small drones is greater than 2 kg, but less than 25 kg. Medium drones is greater than 25 kg, less or equal to 150 kg, and large drones are greater than 150 kg. So when you're creating an assignment, I want you to tell me which kind of drones or category drones you have selected for your project also, or for your assessment or assignment, right? So please let me know which category of drone you have selected for your assignment. So I'm not hearing, except I think Srishti Infotech, nobody is talking much. So all of you are sleeping. Can you please switch on your camera, please? So let me know which kind of a drone you want to select. So these are the basic drones that are basically used in the industry and that has been categorized. Next is, do you know what is the official drone site is called? Hello, student. What is this called? Any guess? I'm not able to hear anything. I think you're all feeling sleepy today.
Sir, can you repeat the question? It was not very clear.
The question is, what is the official drone site is called?
I mean, drone site in the sense where it has flied or
Basically
created.
called the Digital Sky. The official drone site is Digital Sky. Okay. So do you know that Government of India has also got some policies on the drone?
This out of level 2 trainer. Sorry to interrupt.
I can't hear. Can you please repeat?
This out of level 2 trainer. I mean, Vaishali computers, Ballari.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, to be frank, we have no much idea about drones things. So when you ask, it's like, it's completely blank. But yes, you're asking us to assume and give a numbers or what we know. But we have no much idea about drones. So first, we can explain like how and what. And then if you ask questions, then we can get some idea about it. That's why we are like,
Sure, Vaishali. So, in fact, computers. In fact, the drones, basically, there are, under the policy, they have created 3 zones, right? One is basically green zone, where you don't require any permission to fly your drones. Then there are yellow zones. So yellow zone, initially, it was created that within from like the airports or cities, places where the yellow zone has been created, from the center up to 45 kilometers, you cannot fly drones. Then, of course, now with the latest policy of drone policy, it has been reduced to around 12 kilometers. For example, in Bangalore airport, in around 12 kilometers, you cannot fly drones. Because if you fly drones, then what will happen? It can affect the air traffic. And there are red zones. Red zones are places where you cannot fly the drones, because those are maybe defense areas or basically confidential areas where Government of India has restricted the fly of drones. And in case of the category of drones, the nano drones and micro drones you can use, but for the medium and large, you cannot fly without any license. And also those are restricted. So as a normal public, they can basically, within the green zones, they can fly this nano drones and micro drones, and you don't require any license for that. So I will request you, since to also go through basically the internet, try to learn about more about the drones, but if that will really help you when you do your assessment, right? Because you need to think out of the box. And here, basically, the teachers, you can ask the teachers or the second line teachers, maybe to ask them to teach you on drone technology. I'm just going to provide you high level what is about drones. And then if you have got any questions, I will be able to answer you. Is it okay?
Yes.
So this is very, very interesting area, as you can see, and this has got an enormous potential, right? If you see, in fact, the drones that are basically in the current warfare also, a lot of drones has been used, right? Like India is also working on multiple drones for the defense industries, right? Now, if you see the amount of basically any defense industry that is with all these wars also are increasing. In case India spends around $70 billion per year on the defense, whereas USA spends almost around $800 billion, whereas China spends almost around $300 billion. So you can understand so much of money is spending on the defense, and so they will also look into the lot of cutting edge technology, and drone is one of the areas where basically they are also working a lot. Okay, so coming out from the drones, so I hope now for your 21st Sunday's assessment presentation, you have got enough knowledge on drones and why the drones are very, very important. What I want is basically out of box thinking from your side. Think what is basically the drone you want to create, and how will get benefited, and how is basically your delivery mechanism and how it will work. So it is around 5 to 6 minutes for you and your team. Right? And next month assessment is on smart city, and that you need to think, and you have to create a smart city. Right? I will ask Sweta to forward that the smart city that is for month of September. That is the assessment you need to do. So I'm giving enough time for you on the smart city. Right? So any question on the drones? Can I move on to the next part?
Yes, sir.
Hello, student. So I hope drones was quite interesting. A lot of information.
Yes, sir.
So am I
Okay,
audible?
now basically, I can show you basically some
No.
on the smart, what is going around the world. Let's see.
So can I ask a question?
Sure, please.
So presently, are we importing all the parts of drone via China?
In fact, as you know, China with China and Pakistan is our having not good relationship. So we are not supposed to get the parts from China. If we get parts from China, what will happen is that the technology, or basically they can stop those supplying us those material in case of a war, or so it is not recommended to get those parts or anything from China. Now, India is, as you know, India is developing the drone in the domestic, and with the basically Adani Group has started with the group in basically Elbit system of Israel to manufacture drones in India. Similarly, multiple other companies in India either doing basically research and developing drones, or basically partnering with some of the foreign vendors. Now, if you know about the Predator drones, that is basically they said that they are going to provide the. Any question? They are going to provide the technology to India, and India can manufacture, and that is basically manufactured by General Autonomous of USA. So India is all. That is why there is a huge, basically research going on in India, and there are. I will request who are not speaking. Can you be in mute, please? So there are a lot of basically startup companies are started, and if you go and do a Google and search, you will find a lot of startup companies are basically working on this cutting edge technology, and developing a lot of drones. And there is also government incentives and promotion from the government also for these startup companies, because government of India want these startup companies to be successful and develop the drones in India. So we cannot basically get the material, anything from China for this. I hope I am able to answer your question. Any question?
So the cost of manufacturing the components in India is a little bit high. So is any initiative taken by government to reduce the cost of manufacturing?
As I told you, if you remember the PLI scheme, where 20% of the funding will be provided of the production will be funded by government. So the government has already budgeted around 120 crores, right? So I think under the PLI scheme, right, government has in 2020 21 already has come up with that. And coming to this, that is the Chinese drone, right? In fact, they have supplied to some countries, and it is performance-wise, it is absolutely very, very poor, right? So they are suffering on that. And some already has, if you go and search the Google, you will find some of the countries they have provided in Africa, they have already basically stopped using that. In case of Pakistan also, they have given those drones, and they are also facing a lot of issue for that, right? So it is basically that cost can be low, but if you do not have a proper technology, then basically at the right time, it may not work. If you check, in fact, some of the planes supplied by China to Nepal, our neighboring state, now to Nepal Airlines, those planes are basically absolutely grounded. They are not moving. And Nepal is basically do not know what to do with those, right? Already out of the 6 planes, 1 plane has crashed and 5 planes are not working. Right. So the cost may be low, but if you do not have a proper technology and proper basically architecture, it may not work. So I have been to China several times. Of course, China can do a lot of imitation and they can do, but technology wise, they are really, really poor. If you go to China, you will find Rolex watches, whatever the branded items like Apple phone, all imitation, everything in the street at very, very cheap price, right? But you do not know how many days it will work.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Right. So anyway, we need to develop, and in case of defense, right, cost is not the important thing. It is how you need to deliver, right? So we need to basically, if the cost is higher also, then also we need to have a proper technology and to, at that time, for example, if you have got a gun, right? So why India is replacing its frontline guns with AK-203 or importing so many guns? Tell me why. Because they find at the time of firing, sometimes there's some technical issues and it's not firing, right? You cannot give a soldier, the brave soldiers, they work so hard, right? When actual situation, if they start firing and it due to some technical reason, it stop firing, right? What will happen? The brave soldier cannot work with his hand. Yes or no?
Right, sir.
Right? So that is why the government of India is purchasing so many guns from outside. And India has already started production of basically Russian AK-203 in India. Right? So India is importing from USA and Israel and other places also guns, right? That is basically the basic thing for any infantry soldiers. Yes or no?
Right, sir.
So value doesn't matter. You need to have proper technology and it should work.
So the core chips that we will be importing from Taiwan could be affected if China and Taiwan war could happen. So that's what the background of the situation that I have asked the pricing. This was the question.
So
because
coming
in future,
to this,
in future the drone companies as well come in trouble if that happens.
Very good question. In fact, the drones also works on semiconductors, right? Without chip, it will not work. Brilliant question. Now, coming to this, if you know, the government of India again has understood. The government of India has also understood the situation because they have got much more foresight. See, as a leader, if you do not have a foresight, then actually you are taking the whole country or your organization absolutely inside the well. In Bengali, there is a word called kupumunduk, a frog inside a well. So if you have to be a leader, you have to have a foresight, right? Now, Government of India already has started the PLI where they're basically encouraging the semiconductor manufacturers to come to India and basically produce. Maybe in another, it takes time. So these are very, very capital intensive industry and it takes time to create those kind of industries, a huge investment, some billions of dollars. So maybe after 3-4 years, India will be in a position not only to supply its domestic manufacturers the chips, but also will start exporting the chips. That is basically the foresight of the government has thought, right? And that's going to give India a huge amount of forex also. Now, coming to your question, already basically with Taiwan, India has got a good relationship. And of course, the Taiwan is going to provide the chips to India. But already some of the Indian manufacturer has also are investing on the semiconductor chip manufacturing. And as you know, chip design is very, very lucrative area. And in India, there are a lot of firms that are also doing chip design, right? So slowly, this is the whole ecosystem that need to be developed. And that is why I was giving an example in what is happening in semiconductors and why it is important. So as you can see, when I'm giving about the geopolitics, talking about the geopolitics, when I'm taking you through those examples, it has a lot of implications. So you can have a thought process. Those are the areas which you may not have thought also, right? Like the semiconductor area, that's going to have a real potential. The drones, this will going to have a real potential for us, right? Now, for example, in India, the automobiles, if you are somebody from Chennai region, you must be knowing that basically there are lots and lots of automobile industry that's there. Yes or no? Just give me 1 minute. Hello. Yes. Any questions? Hello, students.
No, sir.
Right. So this is basically.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Do we have any advanced technology to encounter illegal drone entries?
Yes, of course. In fact, if you see, some of the private entrepreneurs has already created some kind of a anti-drone technology, and those are already basically are getting tested. And in fact, in Jammu airport, already India has put some of the anti-drone technology. And if you see currently, maybe in the Republic Day parade, when it was happening, and India has already put some of the anti-drone technology or basically equipment where the parade was going on, so that no aerial drones come and attack that. Similarly, all the value added areas, right? It may be airport, it can be naval dockyard, or maybe where the minister stays or the prime minister stays, right? So all those are basically anti-drone technology, or the equipments are getting installed. Not only that, in fact, the areas where you will find where a lot of public are coming, maybe there is a festival is happening, right? So the terrorists can go and basically attack those festivals when a lot of people, hundreds of people are coming. So so that to prevent that also, the anti-drone setups are being planned. Now, problem is that you have heard of basically the S-400 or basically the anti-defense missile defense systems. Those are very, very costly. And in case of drones, the problem is that it flies at a very, very low level, right? And those are basically generally the drone that came and bombed the Srinagar airport, that may have flown only maybe 30 or 40 kilometers away from the area, because it is very near to the international border, Srinagar airport. So as you can see, with that, you need to have a proper technology. So not only basically shoot down the drone, there are also technology that is getting developed where basically they will blind the drone. That means they will basically make the malfunction the whole drone, and the whole drone will not work and it will fall down in the ground. So that is also getting using maybe the laser technology, that is also getting developed. You can see if you search Google, you will find all the thing internet. In fact, in case of the anti-drone technology, laser technology is also getting used. With the laser, they will blind the drone, and without firing anything, the drone they will not work and it will fall to the ground, right? So there are multiple anti-drone technologies that are being developed. And in fact, a firm from Bangalore itself, in Karnataka itself, is basically the startup firm which is developing this anti-drone technology. The smart engineers, young engineers who are developing. So you can see a lot of potential that are there in case of drone technology also. That is anti-drone technology, creating the drone, testing the drone, right? And also as a drone pilot. Any question? Hello, students. Any question?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. If you don't have any question, okay, let me just share you. Yes, tell me. Pardon? Yes, tell me. Okay, maybe I think here's something what our people around the world is saying about the smart city.
About every aspect of its city's operations. And I mean every part.
Including public transportation, IT connectivity, water and power supply, sanitation and solid waste management, efficient urban mobility, e-governance, and citizen participation.
And it does this using every buzzword imaginable, from big data to the Internet of Things.
So how does a smart city work? Let's look at 3 examples.
Here in Singapore, the city-state might be the gold standard of the most extensive effort to collect data on daily living.
The government is now deploying systems that can tell when people are smoking in prohibited zones or littering from high-rise housing.
Singapore launched its own Smart Nation program in 2014 and will add more cameras like these so the government can effectively monitor crowd density, cleanliness of public spaces, and even the exact movement of every locally registered vehicle.
Much of the data it's collecting will be fed into an online platform called Virtual Singapore that gives the government access to how the city is functioning in real.
So this is called the Eye of Singapore. This is a, in fact, it is basically takes almost 1 hour to make one cycle, and people can write this, and you can see almost entire Singapore.
Time. It could help the government predict how crowds might react to an explosion in a shopping mall or how infectious disease might spread. Over in Dubai, more than 50 smart services from 22 government entities have been rolled out as part of the government's Smart Dubai initiative. Using the government-provided app Dubai Now, you can do things like pay a speeding ticket, which likely captured you on a public camera and then emailed you the ticket directly. You can also use this.
So, for example, when I was riding a car, right, in UK, there are multiple cameras. Now, in UK, the speed limit on the highways is 80 miles per hour. So, any car that basically travels more than 80 miles an hour, automatically, they're going to take a picture, and based on the license number, they will going to send that ticket with the fine to the owner of that car, right? Of course, in Germany, there are autobahns. In autobahns in Germany, some of the autobahns, there is no speed limit. So if you want to drive at 350 kilometer, 400 kilometer per hour, if your car permits, you can travel. But there are some autobahns, that is basically the highways in Germany, where you need to have speed limits, right? So you have to follow those speed limits. If you do not follow those speed limits, what will it do? Automatically, it will basically send you a ticket and you have to pay the fine. Or since you have got like fast track in India, you have got those also barcodes, automatically it will deduct from your bank account. Okay, any question? And in case of USA, what happens? There are lanes, right? And there are lanes basically on the, basically in case of Germany and USA, it is left hand drive, whereas India and UK, it is right hand drive, right? So extreme left hand drive is what the fastest car. You can higher speed. The more on the right you go, the speed becomes lower. Now, in USA, they have created the lanes where if you have got more than 2 people, you can go to the fast track, that is absolutely extreme left, and you can drive it at fast speed. That means they're encouraging people to have more than 1 people in the car so that you can take the first lane. Okay, so you can see different parts of the world, they're using different technology, right? So using the technology, they are also trying to manage the traffic. Hello, students. Any question? Now,
No,
if you go to Chandigarh, anybody of you have gone to Chandigarh in India?
Yes, sir.
So if you go to Chandigarh, there are speed limits every street, right? So 60 km/h is basically general limit. There are some streets that say 40 kilometers. If you exceed that limit, what happens? Automatically, there is a police will basically take the picture and send to your mobile phone, or the next basically police barricade, they will stop you and ask for your fine. So almost every corner of the street or signals, there is cameras in Chandigarh. So it is basically developed by a French architect. So you have got sectors in Chandigarh, right? And it is quite beautifully planned. So who has visited? What is your views? What is your name? And from which center you are from?
Sir, I'm Jagsmati from 15 Forte Kundabura.
Yes. So what is your view on Chandigarh?
It was a well beautifully planned city. Actually, I was traveling through Chandigarh, but it was really good, like how they planned the and all.
So if you've stayed in Chandigarh, right? Chandigarh has got two cities beside. One is Panchkula, that is falls in Haryana, and another is basically what? Mohali, that is basically belonging to Punjab, and Chandigarh is our union territory, right? So, in fact, if you see how the Chandigarh has been designed, it has been designed sector-wise, and it's one of the India's first planned city you can see, and right. So you get basically sector-wise, the markets are there, the bus stop is there, the movie halls, all are been quite planned accordingly. Okay.
Same app to pay your electric bill, call a taxi, track a package you sent to your friend, find the nearest ATM, renew your vehicle registration, track the visa status of a relative, and report a violation to the Dubai police. Now head over to Barcelona, where one research firm estimates the city will save billions of dollars a year in energy costs just by installing smart systems like these. Number 1, smart streetlights. Public lighting that adapts and dims when there's no activity but brightens up when sensors detect motion. The second, parking sensors. Instead of driving in circles looking for a spot to park, drivers can get real-time information on an app which locates free parking spots. Sensors on the street curb use lighting and metal detectors to know if a parking spot or loading area is occupied. And finally, garbage sensors, which are actually compact drop-off containers which have a vacuum network through pipes which sucks up trash below ground. The automated waste collection not only lowers noise pollution from garbage trucks, but also lowers costs and keeps bad odor away. Juniper Research estimates that by 2021, cities will save nearly $19 billion by making their cities smart.
But of course, to save money, sometimes you have to spend it first. The global smart city market is estimated to attract $15 billion by 2021, and that's just for software. So now companies from Microsoft to Cisco are aiming for a piece of it. In Singapore, Upton...
Okay, now there are some pitfalls also about this creating this large investment in smart cities. So what are the pitfalls or what are the drawbacks? Yes, student, give me some examples. Any idea?
As all, this is Tahir from Hubli, Kionics.
Yes, tell me.
As all the data is being digitized, so the hacking and unethical activities could be taking a bridge.
Good. So you need to have a proper cyber security. Also, you need to have ethical hackers, right? To check
Right,
as a penetrator to check everything is working fine or not.
Right.
Okay. Any other? Want to give some examples? Hello, students. Any other examples?
Sir, this is Alka from Vaishali Computers. I'd like to right now. You hear me, sir?
Can you speak a little loudly? Not able to hear you.
You hear me now?
Yes, yes. Tell me.
So, the smart city makes like more technological advancement, better lifestyle, all these things. But what will happen to the traditional way of living, how we are into now? So will be there an impact of that one, or if everyone wants to adapt for smart cities, then what will happen to the other cities or the towns of that respective country? Not only in India, anywhere else. Like, out of Saudi Arabia, there are few other cities are not, smart cities. Kind of like. So, what will happen to those particular cities? Are the employees will be migrating for the better jobs from that area, or the rural area, to these cities, and how the impact will be if it is being like fully, kind of established?
Okay, very good question. Now, to answer this, as you know, all the cities can at one time cannot go into become smart cities because that each city creation takes billions of dollars, right? So only very few cities can be smart cities to initially start with, and slowly that will increase. The number of cities will increase. Now, coming to this, if anybody has gone to Japan, Tokyo, or if you know, the people in Tokyo, very few can stay because the cost of living in Tokyo is very, very high. Similarly, if you go to London, if I was in London, so the cost of living in London is very high. So people generally come in the morning through the trains, work there and go back to their home in the evening. Because if you want to stay in those cities like Tokyo or London, right, you cannot basically sustain whatever the salary you are getting because the cost of living is very, very high. The rental is very high and everything. So people come to work and then they go. Similarly, if you see in case of Saudi Arabia, the neon city, are expecting the people to come from outside, work there, and evening again leave. Because in the smart city, of course, since they are providing so much of facilities, right, to maintain those kind of facilities, of course, the rent and everything will be very, very high. So only those people who can afford it will be able to stay there. Others has to basically come, work there, and go back. That is why there will be a lot of other cities who will be able to sustain because their cost of living will be low. And whoever wants those kind of technology and want to be part of, for offices to be there, they will only hire, basically stay in the smart city. And later on, other companies, we cannot pay such kind of enormous rent or have those kind of functionalities, will be scattered into the multiple other cities. But slowly, once they see the benefit of the smart cities, other cities will also adopt to the smart cities. So it will take time. So there will be a coexistence of both smart cities and traditional cities that is currently out there.
So,
right?
Yeah. So what I understood is in what is going to happen is so there will be again a difference of like places. You belong to a smart city place, and I don't belong to a smart city place. So that difference will happen. So for example, any particular services or any particular product or the thing which is manufactured or offered in that smart city, definitely that's not going to come, or those services cannot be benefited for the non-smart city people. So I think that will be the difference in the people itself, or how to put across, like it will be like upscale. The scale will not be the proper for the entire country if it happens like. Is this very correct to put across or how like so? The economic
Just
imbalance. The economic imbalance. The smart city people economy, and the non-smart city economy, all this stuff.
Just to let you know, when I used to travel maybe two decades before to Europe countries, right, there I used to see a lot of difference into whatever the things we used to get. Now in Bangalore, for example, if you go to any of the malls, you find exactly what is available in Europe or USA, the same thing you are going to get it. I'm not talking about the price, some of the price may be higher, but whatever the things that available there, you can find it here in India now. So there is no difference. So nowadays people, for example, if I want to go abroad, I will not buy those kind of things abroad and come to India because I can get everything in India nowadays, right? Now, coming to this thing, why I'm giving this as an example. So what you are saying that some of the smart cities, the people will be traveling and they will basically get educated on this, right? So after sometimes you will find initially there can be a thought process of difference, but slowly that will evaporate, right? So this is what is going to happen in the near future. That is basically the starting of any transformation or evolution happens, right? So the technology will start and then it will start expanding into the whole mass. And that is how it works. because you need to adapt to whatever the technology it is. For example, if you are in the
sorry to interrupt. We cannot say no, we don't want any technology advancement. Yes, that should be. But how to balance the entire nation or on an entire geographical area is the one which I want to protect. How it will happen, the the people mindset, the technology adaptation, all these things for the entire nation. It's not like one city or one place you have a boom development and others are like kind of ignored, and only those people are like content to be like where you get
so there is two options. Vaishali Computers, there is two options, right? One option is that I wanted to do for whole 140 crore Indian population, or I just do for one big city where 1 crore of population is staying, right? Now, if I do for a, basically, in fact, if you see the big cities, it's not even talked about smart cities. It is basically the suburb for that cities, the smart city concept or the small cities that are talking about. Now, coming to this, if we do not start, right, and if you think for the whole nation to go together, then it will never happen because it calls for billions and billions of dollars of investment. Now, if you think of a bullet train, right? India, we do not have a bullet train. Now, there is a thought process to connect Mumbai to Delhi using a bullet train. And that is the first bullet train they are thinking through. Now, in one day, we cannot change all the train lines into a bullet train. That is not feasible, both financially and also technically. Because if you are from the commerce background, you must be aware that when there is an investment, right, there is also calculated the return on that investment. If I'm a businessman or a government, if I invest this amount of money, I also need to get that amount of money, a return, to basically pay my loans and also to basically in a continuous way to retain whatever the project or the service I wanted to plan. Otherwise, if I don't have any money, what will happen? I will become bankruptcy. What has happened in Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka is not even able to do anything, right? Because they have taken huge loan. Hambantota port, right? They've taken loans. Colombo port, lot of infrastructure development they wanted to do. After that, what happened in Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka, the main business was on tourism. The tourism during the COVID, the people were not coming, right? No tourism business. Next was basically their agriculture. When the agriculture, what they wanted to do, they wanted to buy organic fertilizer from China at a cheap rate, right? They bought organic fertilizer at a cheap rate, but what they found, this organic fertilizer has got a lot of bugs, and actually the whole field basically turned out to be non-productive. A lot of bugs were there, and using that fertilizer, the crop were not growing and it was basically affected. So what happened for the Sri Lanka? One, tourism is not coming. The fertilizer got affected. Now they don't have power to buy basically crude oil or anything. So if the another thing what they were used to do in textile, and also the tea, they used to grow tea, but as you know, CTC, that is what they export. That is in the machine, they crush those tea leaves and then they export. Now, if they have got no power, no export of textile, no export of CTC teas, right? Because we need electricity. Now the whole country has gone into bankrupt, right? Now, if I plan something, an investment, which is over and above my capability, what will happen? I will go bankrupt. Do you want a country to go bankrupt? No, right? You want the country to progress, right? If we have to progress, then there has to be some pilot project starting. And that is why it will be starting with few cities and then it will be expanding into multiple cities. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, now I'm telling you one of the major things. You know, in China, China is basically an economy which basically survive on huge demand they create from themselves. Now they are creating dozens and dozens of cities, right? Those are called ghost cities. No people lives in those cities. They are just creating because to create huge internal demand for cement, steel, and labor force working on them. You have seen in case of China, now they're facing major bankruptcy in some of the housing projects. If you heard of a company called Evergrande in China, do you know what was the liability of that company? Any guess? Hello, student. Any guess? What is the liability of that company?
No, sir.
$310 billion. Of course, they cannot pay and they went to bankruptcy, and multiple other real estate company went into bankruptcy. Now, China has done a lot of investment, not only domestically, they have also, like CPEC, I was saying that is a failure. Similarly, some projects in Africa, they have done in other parts of Indonesia, other parts of the, parts of the world. Now they're not getting the return. Now, if you go to a bank, right, you basically give your entire deposit to the bank. And then when you go to the bank and ask for, basically, you want to withdraw money. And if the bank say, I don't have money, I've given to XXY project and that has failed, so I don't have any money. So you come after 10 days. What will you do? Students. So in China, a lot of banks are also failing nowadays. In fact, if you go, those things are not coming. In fact, China, the agitation has happened. The people has lost their entire life savings. And China has to ask the army to come with the tanks in the streets to basically ask the protesters to leave. So you can understand the situation if you spend money and without thinking from where you're going to get the return. Of course, China is a dictatorial, the communist state, so people can't speak anything. In fact, when I went to China, my Facebook is not working. My WhatsApp is not working. I can't do any search on the Google because everything is banned there, right? So they don't know anything what is happening rest of the world. So China has got own WhatsApp. You have to use that. It's called WeChat. Of course, in India, it is banned now. And they have got their own Google search, right? So you have to use those to basically, if you are in China. So are you understanding? Virtually computers now, if you make an investment like that, what will happen? So do you want whatever your whole life saving or whatever saving in the bank to go for a bankruptcy, the bank declaring bankruptcy? If the bank doesn't get a return on the investments?
Yes, this is what I want to ask you. So I will not ask you, there's a question with me. We understand, Sri Lanka got bankrupt or filed bankruptcy because they took more loans from others. But China currency or the production is more. So one of the largest producer or manufacturer is China. How come China economy is getting collapsed? So this is what it might be out of the context of today's topic, but still this is what I could not able to find answers. So if you can address it, will be good. Otherwise, we can talk separately also on this topic.
Okay, note, I will take few minutes. Maybe it will be good learning for others also. See, generally, a forex country, right, the forex exchange, right, it is basically based on the economics, demand and supply, if you learn economics. Now, basically, if there is a demand for your forex of your currency value will be high. And if you have to, basically, your currency is weak, then of course, what will happen? Now, if you see India, when it got independence in 1947, $1 was equal to 4 rupees. Now it is $1 equal to 80 rupees, right? Indian value, the forex has devaluated. So what has happened? India currently try to keep it based on the open market, what is based on the demand and supply. Like if you go to Euro or USD, those are basically every seconds there is a, you will find fluctuation happening, right? Because it is based on the demand and supply, right? If India start exporting more, our currency will get stronger. And if India basically imports more, what will happen? Our currency will get weaker because we need to purchase the currency from the market to pay our other countries. Yes or no?
Right. So that's what we will be paying by on the dollars, so that against of the import and export, the dollar value against Indian rupee fluctuates.
right? But if you see China currency is called ruble, sorry, currency is yen, it's Chinese yen. So what is Chinese yen is doing? They are manipulated by China. So that is why it is called, it is a bubble or a balloon. Anytime it can burst. So China is doing what? It is manipulating its forex. It manipulating its currency. So China, though basically they are exporting so much, now they are not basically increasing the value of the currency. If they increase the, for example, what happens? If the Indian currency is $80, right? So if you export, right, the exporter earns a lot. Now, but if you are importing something, for India, for example, India import crude oil, right? So India has to pay a huge amount. Maybe I'm just giving $100 is the crude price per barrel. But if it is an $80, you have to multiply 80 into 100, right? Yes or no?
Yes, correct.
So you have to pay 8,000 rupees a barrel. Now, if the currency improves to $70 a barrel, right? Sorry, currency is $1 equal to 70 rupees. So India have to pay only 7,000 rupees per barrel. Yes or no?
Yes.
But if India does that, manipulate the currency, what will happen? Our exporters will face a huge problem because the price of our goods in that country will go up. Then they can choose other country and will not basically import from India. So that is how the balance of trade, maybe if you are interested, I can take a class separately on how the global mechanism works on the currency and the forex, this thing, right? That is very, very interesting thing and how what we learn in economics. And based on that, the currency valuation happens. Because not only that forex, like India has got almost a forex reserve. It used to be more than $600 billion. It went once upon to $640 billion. Now it is little bit less than $600 billion. But India has got enough forex. Whereas if you find like Bangladesh to be the next country, it can face a forex crisis. Already, if you see in Bangladesh, they've raised the petroleum prices by 51% in single day. So they are facing real forex problem. Because if you want to buy crude, then you have to buy in forex, not in your own currency. Okay, anyway, so to tell you on this, so this is China, since they're manipulating their whole currency, so they make their export much cheaper around the world, they are doing it. So they are absolutely a fully manipulated country. You do not know what is happening in China. Because in China, they don't let the news out of their country. And the Global Times, basically the newspaper or the channel, which basically speaks on behalf of the China, is also a highly manipulated media. Are you with me?
Yeah, okay.
So we do not know what is happening. So what I'm telling you, in China is facing a huge problem, and to turn around the internal, see what happened. Why China basically went into 1962 war with India, or basically attacked Vietnam in 1979, or went into war, because when there are internal chaos, when the people are rising against the leadership, to turn those people attention to a different angle, they go for a war. So maybe China is preparing a war with Taiwan to divert the people attention internally. We do not know, but that can be another thought process from the China leadership. Anyway, let's not go into too much into China politics, because we can talk hours and hours, but let's now start and focusing on our area. So what you see is that if you make an investment in smart cities, right, like in Bangladesh, in Pakistan also, CPAC, they were trying to create with $60 billion of investment. Now there is no return because the whole project has stalled. In China also, multiple ghost cities are there where not a single people stay, but they have created those huge infrastructure and cities, right? Now they are facing huge problem. Now the people are not there, people are not staying, then where they're going to get return? Either you have to purchase those properties or you have to rent it out, but there is nothing there. So initially that was giving a boost to the economy, because that was giving a spiral effect on the investment. That is another economics theory. If you spend 10,000 rupees on infrastructure, it almost gives a 10 times more return to the society or to the country, or right? So they were initially having those large amount of GDP push, but now they are facing issues. And since China doesn't basically provide the correct information to the rest of the world, so we do not know. So they are into major issues they're facing. Anyway, so you know what are the challenges if you go for smart cities and without proper thought process, proper planning on the investment, then you can turn yourself into a big loser and you can be on the verge of bankruptcy. So, and also your cost of your project will go up, and it will be difficult to basically fund those projects. Okay. Any more question on smart city? Hello, students. Okay. So let me just take you to basically our this thing. Basically, yesterday we were talking about the cyber security. I will take you to the cyber security now. Okay. Just give me 1 minute. I need to drink some water, and again, I will share my screen. Okay. Hello. Yeah, students. So are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me share my screen. And then again, we will go to cybersecurity. So you can understand why cybersecurity is also very important. So you know that if you want to create like smart cities, there can be some hackers, they can penetrate and basically steal all the data from your city, or basically they can make the whole IT network misfunctioning, right? So we have gone through the cyber security. We have gone all those areas. So you know what is phishing, man-in-the-middle attack, denial of service attack. Then you have the social engineering, spam, spoofing, tampering, cyber crime definition we have discussed, the protections we have discussed, national actions, different country always try to protect themselves. So in case of war or this thing or enemy nation will try to first attack your IT systems and servers and try to hack them. We were talking of ethical hacking, right? So we know what are ethical hackers, and they are basically try to find out whether any malicious attackers are there, or any of those where there is weak points into the cybersecurity, and then they will document it, and then they will ask the organization to protect those areas, the vulnerable areas, so that attackers cannot attack the system. Right? Any question? So we know this, they are called white hat hackers, right? So they generally do a proactive work to help to improve the organization security areas, so that hackers cannot basically attack the security system or the IT infrastructure and get it down. So what are the type of hackers we have learned? Hello, students. So there are white hat hackers, black hat hackers, and gray hat hackers, right?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I've got throat infection. Please let me know if you're not able to hear me. Please let me know. Okay, so what are the key concepts of ethical hacking? One is that they basically are working for the organization. So they are supposed to stay legal. So they generally do it with prior approval of the organization or the IT infrastructure that they are going to do the penetration test or check the system, and they are not going to disrupt the overall system of the organization, right? Next is they basically define the scope of their assessment and within the legal boundaries and the areas that is already approved by the organization. Next is if they find out any of the vulnerable points or areas where in the organization there can be a probable attack can be done or any weak points, they notify the organization, they documented it, and also provide how the remedial process, how to basically make it a foolproof system, right? Then the cybersecurity consultants will come and basically work on that, do a proper coding, or maybe install software so that the whole system become a bulletproof, or no hackers come and penetrate it. And with the change of technology and with the advancement of technology, what is happening? There are new tools getting invented every day, new software. And with that, also the hackers comes and attack the system. So they need to prevent that. So they also need to, it's a always learning process for the both ethical hackers also. Next, most important is they need to respect data sensitivity. Depending on the data sensitivity, the ethical hackers may have to agree for non-disclosure agreement. So if you know, in case of Europe, there is a GDPR, right? What is GDPR? That is basically data protection. Now, in case of a person from India cannot access basically the employee register in Germany. So only those people who are in Germany can only access their sensitive data. So that is how they protect the data. So they don't allow the data to be moved outside. So whenever you are doing any IT project, right, there are some compliances. Those data are first of all are asked by the organization whether those data can if non-sensitive data can be moved to India for further processing or want to do some testing of your programs or coding. But sometimes what we do is that we mask those data, right? Mask those data and do the testing. And actual data, we cannot do the testing, only need to be tested by the on-site people, or basically if it is like, it is an Airbus, for example, you have to be a resident of Europe, or basically you have to be part of those nations which is approved, and then only based on your background check, they will allow you to do on the actual data testing or actual data, any development. So are you okay? You understand? Hello, students.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there are globally, they're governed by a lot of data protections also. So one has to follow that. For example, in Saudi Arabia, you cannot have the production server outside Saudi Arabia. You have to have the production server or the cloud server within Saudi Arabia. In case of India also, if you know, the government of India has said the cloud server for India data has to be within India. It cannot be outside India. Of course, initially Amazon and other created a lot of basically complaint to the government of India that how can you do it? Because generally they create huge data warehouse, right? And where they store the data and in the cloud, right? I hope you know what is public cloud, what is private cloud, what is hybrid cloud. So there are multiple models also, SaaS, PaaS, IaaS model, based on which those data also are moved into the cloud. Anyway, we are not talking about cloud, we are talking about hacking. Next is ethical and malicious hackers. So ethical hackers are what? They use the knowledge to secure and improve the technology of the organization, isn't it? They provide essential service to this organization by looking into the vulnerabilities or the weak areas and where they can find some security breach. And ethical hackers reports to identify the vulnerables to the organization. And also they provide advice to the organization how to prevent them. And when there is basically malicious hackers, they basically try to access using unauthorized way to steal the data or use those data in their favor, right? So also sometimes to create problem to the organization, crashing the system, maybe for fun or for money, and also they will use those data for their own use, right? So that is why, to prevent these malicious hackers or the black hat hackers or those hackers we try to basically create problem, you need to have cybersecurity and ethical hackers to work in tandem. So these are the skills for your ethical hackers. So you should have scripting language knowledge, proficiency operating system, a thorough knowledge of networking, solid foundation and principles of information, and some of the areas certification you can look into, those are given here, right? So if you want to go for an ethical hacker as your profession, right? Next is limitation of ethical hacking, the limited scope. The main problem here it is basically you have a resource constraint because organization may not spend too much money on ethical hacking on the tools and this thing, thinking that already the cybersecurity consultant has taken care, and also restricted methods because some of the methods you may be thinking will be quite restricted. Whereas for the hackers, right, the black hat hackers, they don't have any resource constraint, they don't have any constraint on the tools because they can have also time is not a constraint for them. So they can work for months and months or years and years to finding some loopholes which you will not be aware. So that is one of the major constraint or difference between a white hat hackers and a black hat hackers. So any other examples you can give? Hello, students. Any other difference between ethical hacking and non-ethical hacking? Hello, students. Are you able to hear me? Hello? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
So give me some examples where you think there is an ethical hacking requirement and what is the main difference between ethical hacking and the non-ethical hackers, that is black hat hackers. What is the difference?
Ethical hackers required in government sector, sir, and in financial sector, sir, to check if there are any loopholes or anything. So it will be huge loss if there is some bugs or any loopholes present in the system.
Good. So any other, I'm always getting good answers from Srishti Infotech. What happens to the others?
Sir, ethical hacking is conducted by hackers as well, but their intention behind hacking is not for a malicious purpose.
Well, they are, I will not say hackers, they are basically IT professionals, which we call it, of course, ethical hackers. So they work in purview of the organizations and they work legally, right? And basically with the intention to check whether there is any defect into the cybersecurity or to find any loopholes. And based on that, they will basically tell the organization that these are the areas where the loopholes or basically areas vulnerability is there. And they will document it and then they will ask the management to look into it so that those can be rectified. Okay. So let me move again to my presentation. Now, types of ethical hacking. So you have seen ethical hacking. So you have got the web application hacking, system hacking, hacking wireless networks, web server hacking, and social engineering. So they will try this kind of a hacking to check whether the system is running okay or not, or whether there is any areas where there are any loopholes, right? Next is phases of ethical hacking. It can be planning and reconnaissance. It can be scanning. It can be gaining access. It can be maintaining access, or analysis and checking the WAF configuration. So based on that, multiple steps they will follow to ensure that there is no vulnerability into the coding or programming and in the cybersecurity of the organization, or basically can be ethical hackers can also do for a product also. For example, if you want to have kind of a drone, for example, you take a drone. Now they will try to check for the drone into an penetration test. They will try to do that anti-drone technology cannot hamper this drone and basically stop the functioning of this drone, because anyway the drone will be monitored from a long distance. Somebody is going to monitor the drone. Of course, the anti-drone technologies will try to basically find some loopholes so that he can make the functioning of the drone not working, right? So that he will try to stop the working of the drone. So there are two set of peoples, two kind of IT professional. One is trying to check that the anti-drone technology should not basically stop my drone. Another is trying to find it out how to stop the drone. Okay. Now, phases of ethical hacking reconnaissance is basically this is the technology. This is the information gathering phase, right? The goal of this is the preparation phase to collect as much of information as possible. So before launching an attack, or attacker collects the information about the target. So they will try to understand the whole system, the process. They will try to gather all the information before they start the penetration testing, right? So how the basically the password, what was the password protection rules, or how the whether they are using. Generally, that's why you will see that any organization, or if you have a bank account also, after 14 days, they ask you to change your password, right? Whether there is any password protection policy also or not, or they will try to check what are the security policies of that organization, or what are the vulnerable points. They will try to check, and based on that, they will initially gather the information, and then they will try to do the testing on their own, right? So that is in the next phase. So then they will basically, after that, so they will try basically to check the vulnerabilities, and then of course through host of ways they will try to do. They will check the network, or also the specific IP address, whether it is vulnerable or not. They will try to check. So ethical hacking footprints can both be active and passive, where in case of active, they will basically scan the target network and try to get the information. In case of passive, they will basically collect the information without directly accessing the target in any way, and will check whether there are any vulnerable points or weak points. And next is basically scanning. So they will try to use the scanners. Multiple tools and software is also available in the market, and using that they will try to do and try to find out whether there are any weak points, right? I'm not going through it because I know all of you know about it, but just to give you a high level. Next is they can do a port scanning, or they can do a network scanning. And this is some of the tools or ways they will try to do to check whether any areas are weak, or they need to basically make some additional work to protect those areas, right? Then the cybersecurity consultant will work and to protect those areas, so that in fact the black hackers cannot come and disturb the system. Next is getting access. So they will try to gain the access, and they generally work without the knowledge of the cybersecurity consultants. They work in parallel or independently of the cybersecurity consultants, not with them, so that independently they can check whether they can gain access to the system or the organization. And if they're able to do it, then of course there is an issue and that need to be rectified. So next is that once the hackers manages to access the target system, they will try their best to maintain the access. In this stage, also the hackers continuously explores the basically whether they can make some spam actor or some kind of a bugs they can put inside, right? So, and using that they can exploit whether they can use some kind of Trojan or virus, right? So, and with that they can extract the data or not. So this is kind of a testing they will also do, not only gaining access, but after gaining access, how they can maintain their access, and they'll check also whether the cybersecurity consultant, due to the monitoring, right? If you remember, there was a monitoring for that, the logs were there, right? So they will also check whether the logs, those kind of some kind of a alert is coming or not. If they don't see any alert on this thing, that means there is a problem with the cybersecurity system. If they get any alerts, at least that means somebody has entered. That alert can come to the cybersecurity. If that is also not coming, that means the cybersecurity have got a lot of work, not only to basically create a firewall, so to prevent the hackers, also to ensure the proper monitor is happening. So after that, what they're trying to do is that they will also try to check once they entered and this thing, and they can clear the track that whether they have taken all the information and taking it out. And then this is done for the defense or basically highly confidential areas. So where they want to get all the information, and also they want to clear the track so nobody knows that some tracker group has entered, taken all the data and moved out, right? So that no further investigation is done. So to prevent that, they will also try to check whether any clearing of the track that is possible or not. So next is basically, in case of this, now how they can do is that they can use basically reverse the HTTP cells, deleting the cache or history, or using the internet control message protocol or tunnels. They will try to erase the data. So next is basically, we have talked about the steps that is taking into the ethical hacking methodology. Now, also there are some more, if you want to learn, you can learn about the security policies, networking infrastructure, and also ethical hacking certifications are available. You can learn more on this certified ethical hacking provided by EC Council to train the individuals, right? So if somebody want to pursue the career on ethical hacking, then you can go and check this. Now, some of the cybersecurity consulting services. Now, as of this thing, if you are interested into the cybersecurity area, so there are a lot of opportunity. One is you can work as a security strategist, identify and access management, penetration testing, business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan, security operations, and anti-phishing solutions. So as you can see, there are multiple areas where one can work into the cybersecurity or into kind of an, of course, in the cybersecurity in the consulting. So as I told you, all the organizations need to have a cybersecurity. So there's an enormous scope. And similarly, ethical hacking, in fact, it's a big scope because they will need to also find out when in a case of product development or in organization, whether the system is foolproof or not, the cybersecurity. So that is from my side at this moment. So let me know if you've got any questions. Hello, student. Any question on cybersecurity?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Smart cities in IoT, machine learning, or AI? Any questions you have got?
hello, sir.
Okay, yes, tell me, System Infotech.
From System Infotech, Sriram Kamal, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, if we get some hint that our system might be hacked or it is being used by someone else, what will be the precautions, or what will be the we have to take actions at that moment, sir?
First of all, that is why the cybersecurity is there, right? If it is basically breached and somebody already, we come to know that third party is there and already has attacked our system. So generally the system is down until unless it is found from which area the hackers has come. Now the basically proper patch or the security has to be done, so that has to be prevented. Next is that need to find out how much of basically damage it has created, right? Or basically it has to go to the your digital recovery system. So stop this system, go to the other system, and to check that at least that is working on a continuous process. So basically what happens, each and every organization also create kind of a continuous deployment plan, or if something basically attack happens, what is basically my next steps, right? What is the disaster recovery plan? Or if when this kind of a hackers basically prevent my system, then what happens? You have seen that in case of WhatsApp or Facebook also, there was an outage, right? In fact, they said the system is down. Now, generally, if there is a major testing or patches going on, this down the system, or if they find some hackers has come, because they can't allow it, because already if some basically damage has happened, they cannot allow that damage to continue. So they have to immediately find out what is the damage has been created to stop it, and have to prevent it. So that is basically become the work of the cybersecurity consultant, to immediately start working and find out what has happened, monitor it, and get that prevented, and then apply the basically the security, higher security, to prevent further such hacking, or basically who has entered it to stop it from entering again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So if you see what has happened, if you are aware, like in case of defense, like NASA or basically defense institutes and this thing, right? For example, they create some kind of like F-35 or Raptor F-22 fighters. So China and Russia, for example, will be trying to get that information, how they're created. Or similarly, like India has created BrahMos. If you see the Chinese and Pakistanis, maybe they were trying to get the knowledge of the how this has been created or where they have been deployed. So they will try to enter our system to find it out, where all places this has been deployed, or if some architecture is available. Are you with me? Similarly, whenever
Yes,
R&D
sir.
is going on, so they will try to prevent. So work of the cybersecurity consultant will be try to stop it. Ethical hackers will try to check that there is no loopholes or any weak points in our IT overall network. So this is how basically the overall basically system works. Now,
Yes,
let me give you another example, right? Now, you have seen that in case of a bank, if somebody can get hold of basically the customer or basically the deposit, right? They can basically, using wire transfer, they can transfer the money to their account without knowing. If it happens, then what will happen? The people will lose basically the whatever the money they saved in the bank, right? So to prevent that, of course, bank audits and everything happens. But still, if it is already has happened, it becomes very difficult to basically track that person. And if he has already spent that money, then it becomes very difficult to get that money from that person and refund to the actual owner who has actually deposited the money in the bank. So the banking and basically financial institutes basically need to have a very high level of cybersecurity to prevent this kind of basically cyber attacks. And that is why you will find people going into the public cloud. Large organizations still are basically do not want to go to the public cloud until and unless there is proper cybersecurity. So they are going to the public private cloud, but not too many are going into the public cloud. But wherever in some of the operations where it has got no financial that much impact, they're trying to put those into the public cloud because that can work on a SaaS model. So the operation of cost for that will be much, much lower. So each and everything has got both financial also impact on the technology what you are using, and also what is the return you are getting with that investment. Right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So let me know. Do you have got any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, tell me.
So I wanted to know what is the difference between threat, vulnerability, and risk.
Sorry, can you please repeat?
What is the difference between threat, vulnerability, and risk, sir?
The vulnerability is basically the risk is what are the risks one can foresee, right? For example, you can have the some of the system. If just giving an example, if the system is not able to manage your data with the increase in the volume of data that you are having, the whole server can break down, right? So it can basically can create a problem for you. The vulnerability can be, for example, now if your cybersecurity is not well protected, or if you do not change your password, right, on a regular intervals, there is a vulnerability is that somebody can hack to your system, know the password, because if the password is not getting changed regularly, take the password from the password log and can access to your system and get all the data. One is the risk, of course, is that person can do that. Another vulnerability is basically where you can have forcing those areas where they can penetrate those areas. Any other question, please?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Why ethical hacker is also called as white hats?
Basically, the black hat hackers is basically, if you see in the movies and this thing, generally, black hat is basically think to be bad people, and white hat, if you see the white collar people in IT consultants are called white collar people, right? Basically, that is how the white hat hackers has been called, because in fact, and the black hackers has been called because they think those are basically people with have got mischievous intentions, and that is why they are called black. Black represent basically kind of evilness, and that is why the black is called.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Any question?
Yes, sir. Excuse me.
Yes.
Sir, which is the highest security from which we can implement to control the system from cyber security attack?
Can you please repeat? Sorry.
Which is the highest security from which we can implement to control the system from cyber security attack?
There are multiple systems. It depends upon basically the product, or basically it depends upon your organization. And based on that, one has to define along with the cybersecurity consultants. So it is not only one. So depending upon, there are multiple tools that are also available and multiple softwares. So one has to assess based on what is the requirement. For example, a nuclear plant need to have a separate level of security. Maybe a garment shop may require a separate level of security. So it all depends upon the scope and also what kind of a product or basically organization they are in, and based on that it has to be done. Of course, there is a CISA course also available where also they define what kind of rules and regulations also. And so one need to read on those, and based on that, one need to work.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
So in case of vulnerability, it is basically the quality of state, right? Basically a possible of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. So that is basically, you have the vulnerability of the system. So if anybody, any area is exposed to anybody to harm that or not, right? So that is called the vulnerability. So if you have got some issue with your code or this thing that is vulnerable, if then those areas need to be looked into, assessed, and the cyber security consultant need to work and absolutely make those bulletproof or foolproof system. Okay. Now, if you don't have any questions, then we can close the session today and wish you a very, very happy Independence Day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. And we wish you the same.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.